Welcome to the 6-5 podcast. I am Pat, and that is Dan. I appreciate you guys tuning in today. You know, Daniel, I always talk about in this fast-paced AI world, it does take a village, right? People need help, and companies are not only who are helping people, not only are taking advantage of this huge AI interest, but also they're using AI themselves to help their customers.
Yeah, the terminology can evolve and change, and it really depends from vendor to vendor, partner to partner. Sometimes the word's ecosystem, sometimes the word is channel, sometimes the word is go to market, sometimes, but what they really are saying is something that you sort of alluded to, Pat, is that it's never one. And so when you look at the complexity of what it actually takes, and it doesn't matter if it's the all in one big rack NVIDIA NVL72 system, or it's a whole distributed set of implementations across 20 locations, right? There's going to be partners, consultants, there's going to be integrators, there's going to be distributors and channel and value add all over the implementation. So there's a great topic and something I know at least you and I care deeply about, and we've invested heavily in building this practice.
Yeah, for sure. And let's talk to somebody who's at the forefront of that, and that is Paul Bay, CEO of Ingram Micro. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really good to have you here. Ingram Micro is a very, very large company. While you're in the billions and billions of dollars in revenue, sometimes when you're somewhere in between the end customer, say the massive bank or pharma company that uses technology, and the tech provider, you heard me say NVIDIA, or it could be Microsoft, there's these big companies in between, but not always do they get the same amount of publicity, even though they're so intimately involved in these integrations. Give us a little bit of kind of the just background and explanation of Ingram.
So yeah, a lot of times people say we're one of the largest companies that people haven't heard of. So we're a 45-year-old. We just went public in October of 2024, October 24. So now we're back on the Fortune list. So we're a Fortune 100 company. And as you mentioned, we're doing billions of dollars. We do nearly $50 billion in revenue. And we sit right in that middle of that multi-trillion-dollar global technology ecosystem that you guys are discussing each and every day. We do business in nearly 60 countries, and we have over 160,000 customers. What I'll just use, because there's a lot of different names, as you know, for them, I'll call them solution providers. And as you know, these customers are really solving the technology challenges and providing those outcomes for those millions of end businesses that they're serving each and every day. And so through our customers, we're proud to say, because of our reach, we can reach nearly 90% of the world's population. And you know what we're excited about? We're transforming into a platform company through our what we call our AI driven digital experience platform that we call Xvantage.
Yeah, let's drill into that. We talked a little bit about Xvantage at the 6-5 Summit. It was great to have you guys there. But I want to talk about metrics. In the end, AI ideas are great. Putting stuff on a PowerPoint presentation and spreadsheet are one thing. But what are the core metrics that you're using to determine the degree of success of Xvantage?
So there's a couple of things. I think actually maybe if I can give you just a little bit of background on kind of the journey we're going on with our customers. So this transformation of our company with our customers comes in 3 phases. So the first one is really about removing friction and streamlining operations and driving operational efficiencies. The way I like to look at it is, what's the cost to serve? So to answer your question, in this first phase, we've done things which a lot of times there's inbound distribution, and the relevancy and the value of distribution for a lot of years has been about the really kind of tactical. And there's a lot of friction in this industry because on average, we have 6 products or services, 6 different vendors that are made up of our average solution. Yeah. We receive over 1 million emails a year with respect to, hey, place this order, put it into your system, and this is my order. It's email validation. And we've created technology where we actually take that email and make it touchless. It goes right into our system and confirms right back to a customer. Another one is what we call order status and tracking. Like we know in our personal lives, when stuff is going to arrive at the front door of your house or your office. And order status and tracking in our industry has been very challenging because of the complexity of carriers and vendors and all the things that go along with that. And we've created some technology where actually now you can get on our platform and you can see the order and when it's going to arrive. And the reason why I bring that up is because we're making it more efficient and that cost to serve for our customers to actually free up time to spend more time with those end businesses every day. So that's kind of the first phase. And we look at that as how long are people coming onto the system. And we've got some great success that I shared in our Q2 earnings results with regard to how long people are on there, how many self-service orders are up, considerably quarter over quarter and year over year. The second phase is really around demand generation. And for our customers, it's how do we shorten the sales cycle for them?
Yeah.
An example of this is we have what we call an integrations hub. And you guys know this. There's so many different systems that are out there today. Our systems that our customers are using, their CRM systems, or many different versions of it. Their ERPs of how they're running their business, and just other business applications that are running their operations. What we've done with our integrations hub is we ensure seamless connectivity into the Xvantage platform. Effectively, we're meeting partners where they are in their digital journey. And so we're trying to provide a very consumer-like ease of doing business. And a lot of these integrations into these CRMs and ERP systems could take months, many, many months, and IT technical resources. And now what used to take many months can actually happen in minutes. And then the last thing I'll just touch on is kind of the third phase that we'll get through with our customers is really unlocking value for our customers and our vendor partners. And it's about, I always talk about the easy way is what a platform for me is. How do we take the supply and the demand and bring that together? So how do we take supply and demand more intelligently to use this data to help them further grow and enhance their profitability, ultimately with their end businesses? So I look at this as profitable organic growth, or say it another way, how do you use data and insights to drive the company and helping our partners?
Paul, you alluded to the fact that you were pretty much private until just about a year ago, and now you're a public company. It's interesting. I was reviewing some of the metrics. It looks like you had really good performance, beat on the numbers that the shareholders like to see you beat, and the analysts. Of course, I also noticed some things in your numbers that probably aren't surprising to anyone that knows channels, but you definitely run on a thin margin. Like, you have to run this business incredibly efficiently. 0.3% profit margin on billions and billions of revenue. I imagine AI has become quite an interesting tool for you to look at. We've talked to a lot of CEOs. There's a lot of efficiency gains where it was the early sort of implementation use cases we've seen. And then, of course, it's all about growing in productivity, right? It's getting all the things you just talked about moving. But I'm super interested because you're hitting numbers, but you're always walking on that thin ice because margins are tight. You've got to execute almost perfectly. Where's AI sort of driving, your ability to execute more with customers in the channel, and then, of course, B, are you putting it to work inside Ingram to maybe try to get that extra tenth or a couple tenths of percentage of margins up in the business?
Yeah, it's a great question. So thanks for recognizing we did have a good Q2. And so I always tell the team we got to continue to perform while we transform. And you mentioned, kind of AI, and we've used the buzzwords now, but what we're doing from a platform standpoint is we're using AI to effectively, it's in our business to drive net new growth for our customers. So I'll give you a couple of examples of how we're doing this. But if you look at what we did, we think that architecture matters. So when we started this journey just 3 years ago, the first thing we did is we had to pull our information out of all of our ERPs over the almost 60 countries that we're in. So we're not ERP dependent, we're ERP agnostic because we pulled everything up into a data mesh, not a data lake. So we're using AI and machine learning automation, which is really the basis for a program that we call, and I talked about in the earnings call, it's called Intelligent Digital Assistant. We call it IDA. The acronym, which helps our customers win more business and deploy more resources effectively. You called out, that was my first phase, which are around productivity. How are we freeing up time to go from inbound to outbound? Yes. But now it's about how do you take that next step? And IDA is really around that second phase, which is how we're using advanced AI and machine learning models to analyze data across. We take it, and IDA has more than 50 attributes to help our customers identify and prioritize sales opportunities that are most aligned to them. Let me give you an example. So at the end user, because of all the data we have, we can see the end user information. And these customer, I'm just going to give you an example. A customer places an order or a quote with us. So they have a quote there. We can tell based off of that quote, that end user that they're servicing may have the propensity, I'll make it up, that they'll procure within the next 7 days. We're proactively reaching out to our customers to say, this quote that you have in our system with this end user, because of the data we have and the way we've set up our AI and ML automation, we can tell you that in the next 7 days, they're going to purchase. Historically, we're going to make a purchasing decision. So what we're doing is helping move our sellers from being reactive inbound order takers along with ourselves to proactive outbound order makers. And that same, again, it goes for the same. We've seen this with success with many of our customers that are saying, look, you know the end user better than we do, and you're providing us real valuable information to help me go grow. As an example, in Q2, our IDA alone, we brought in tens of thousands of opportunities to our partners that we were calling, doing outbound calls. And these were valued at hundreds of millions of dollars on a global basis, which was actually up nearly 50% sequentially. And we've done this for the past 2 quarters. So the point is, this isn't about basis points on margin. This is about adding more value and how do we actually help go drive, further value creation and value capture for our customers as they're out servicing the millions of end businesses each and every day.
Yeah. So Paul, my company, we evaluate generative AI architectures and platforms. I'm not just saying this because we're on this video right now. What you're doing is very sophisticated, meaning this idea of having multiple ERP systems, being able to have a common data mesh, and to be able to activate and add value on top of that. So congrats on doing that. There's a lot of people talking about it. There's not a lot of people doing it because of the complexity of just how hard that is. I wanted to get into, I wouldn't call this a more tactical discussion. It's about managing the challenge of, on one hand, you have this giant Windows 10 to Windows 11 PC refresh and a little bit of AI PC mixed in with this gigantic opportunity out here with data center, right? We talked about Blackwells, whether it's H series, Blackwells, and everything in between. How do you manage these two? I would surely hope there'd be more profit with AI and cloud infrastructure as compared to PCs, which is, quite frankly, it's about velocity. It's about the different things you can add to that solution to be more value added. How do you balance those two things?
Yeah, it's a great question because, as you know, and you've been in this industry for a long time, we saw kind of the chipset shortage when we went through some of the server and networking business a few years ago. We had COVID before that. And now we're sitting right in the middle of this kind of refresh that's going on from a systems perspective. But let me talk about how that kind of comes together. As I mentioned, the 6 different products and services and what we call the flywheel effect and how we're using this to drive growth in new ways and not just around one category. So we're combining the solution. So the ultimate goal of what we've done is we're providing a single pane of glass. So what we're having this conversation today, whether it's your computer, whether it's your phone, your mobile phone, desktop, your notebook, your, mobile device, anything that you basically run your business on for our customers. Yeah. We're giving our customers the benefit of selling, supporting, and managing more complete solutions versus kind of just a single transaction, which is that what this industry used to be. I need to get something from point A to point B. It's hardware and the complexity. And we like to talk about how we've invested in front of the future. We spent more than $600 million on our cloud platform more than a dozen years ago over the last dozen years. And really that was the foundation for Xvantage because you're bringing together the single pane of glass that you're able to have where you have hardware, as I mentioned, software, cloud, and services all in one transaction. And when you look at consumption and as a service is a different outcome and deployment of how you manage that than a physical good. So our goal is to generate this flywheel effect of growth, which it hasn't been done yet. People always talk about Ingram as you're going to this platform, and what you're doing is most companies that start as a platform company, these new platform companies, are starting from scratch. We're taking a 45 billion profitable, or excuse me, a 45-year-old, $50 billion, nearly $50 billion company, and we're transforming it. We're not starting from scratch. The challenge is we have a very successful company that we've been doing business for 45 years. But effectively what happens is we have the largest network of customers, 161,000 customers. We have 1,500 vendors. So we have two of the three things that can reach 90% of the world's population. The challenge of what we didn't have, and this industry, quite frankly, doesn't have, is the technology that brings that ecosystem together more efficiently and intelligently. So we're transforming this company. We have the supply, our vendors, huge vendor solution portfolio, our great customers that choose us each and every day to give us nearly $50 billion. And now we're providing the technology to bring that together. And what we've done over the last 4 years is we built this proprietary real-time data mesh, as we've talked about a little bit. And it's not just a data lake. So a lot of people are using the buzzwords in the industry, and our data mesh provides the data value, and it can do it at scale. And it's about providing data at the time that we're able to take. It's not just the unstructured data in a repository. It's truly providing the ability to bring together that single glass experience. So we're pretty excited about where we are, and things that we used to take literally this journey where we're seeing some of this intelligent automation. I just gave you the IDA example. Many of the things we're doing, I gave you the integration example, things that used to take months and days, we're taking out of this B2B this fragmented B2B transaction and business we're in, and we're handling it in minutes and seconds. So we're pretty excited about that as we go through these three phases. Sorry about that. The lights went out on me. And so that's kind of what we're doing around how we're helping enable our customers.
That's really fascinating. As a leader of a business that's going through a transformation, I love your platform story. Again, it's a careful predicament for many of us that have service intensive or channel intensive businesses to sort of use the word. People, want to challenge. Is it a buzzword? It sounds like it's not. And we're, the same thing. It's, it's like an analyst business used to be every person was your scale. And now it's like knowledge can be scaled with data and with insights and with wisdom piled on to AI as a platform. And it can be delivered in new ways. And it sounds like that's really your mission, is to figure out how to deliver the services that people really care about in a new way while taking advantage of all that infrastructure that you've built over 45 years. And I want to, congratulate you. I honestly learned a lot just listening to you, because
we appreciate it. Sorry to interrupt you, but I love the fact that I appreciate we're getting into a little bit of the differentiation, because part of the challenge we have is everybody can use we played buzzword bingo at the beginning, right? You hit on all the kind of things that are going on in the industry, but all things aren't alike. The words that are there, but really what's happening below the surface is where we think the real opportunity is, because we put the customer, our solution providers, in the middle of everything we do, of how we're building out. What are the challenges they have today? It's about that OpEx efficiency. How do we free up time? Then how do we really go drive more demand and shorten those sales cycles for our industry? And it's challenging when you got, as much scale as we have, but the opportunity we have is pretty exciting.
Well, I'll tell you, just, Pat and I rarely talk our own books. Wink. We love talking our own book when we can, but like we literally, just went through a transformation of looking at how evaluations are done by analysts. And we basically said they're too long, they're too slow, they're too full of friction, they're backwards looking. And the point is, like, with AI, with autonomy, with information and data, can you make them forward looking, and can you make them dynamic in real time? And with AI, so what I'm saying is, you take an old business that's really beat up and kind of most people don't like doing, and you say, how do we make this business great to do business with again and make it really valuable? And it sounds like that's really been your mission. And this obviously always, Paul, leaves people as it was part of the equation, the human side. You have a large company, lots of people, and of course AI. We've talked a little bit about it. It's creating excitement for those that have really embraced it and have used it to scale. It's created some consternation and fear for people that say, oh my gosh, this AI can work faster than me and can do my job. What am I going to do next? And then, of course, you've got all kinds of areas you're expanding into beyond AI. You've got cloud, you've got cyber, not just, moving PCs and servers. I mean, how do you sort of think about how you address talent, how you give people that growth incentive, and how you create a culture that makes Ingram the kind of place people want to work, and of course, staying on the cutting edge and driving that profitability?
Yeah, it's probably the hardest thing. I would say culture and mindset have been the biggest challenge because, as I mentioned, we've been a successful company for 40 plus years when we started this journey. And so we like to say, in the human aspect, relationships still matter in this business. I've been around this business at Ingram for 25, been around this industry for 30. And I have some of my best friends over those many years of creating relationships. So relationships matter. And that human element matters too. So we're not trying to just automate everything and take all the human touch out of it. What I'm trying to do is make sure that we make it as efficient as possible. And how do we free up people to go have more proactive conversations? We like to say at Ingram Micro, the skills we have today are not the skills we want tomorrow, but the people we have today are the people we want tomorrow. And so it's on us as leaders in the organization to how do we go through that change management and make sure we say, here's where we are today, here's where we're going. This is what our expectations will be of you as we go on this journey, and how do we help them through that? So it's been one of the single biggest things that we continue to focus on. And then when you put that at scale, because everything we do now is global, because our global data mesh is everything. So it's all out of the ERP. So what we're doing in the US is the same capabilities and opportunity we have in the UK or in Brazil or one of the other in India, all around the world. And so you get different cultures mixed into that too. And you get the differences a little bit about how those markets and how you service those markets. So the human element is probably where I spend a fair amount of my time on how we're going from where we are to where we want to go. And how do we make sure we're helping our team members get to where we're trying to go to?
Well, Paul, this was great. It was really interesting. And the data mesh is one of the big takeaways, not just a data lake. And by the way, that's a really important thing for people to discern in this era. We've spent, by the way, 20 years sort of saying, if you just get your data in order, big data, you'll be ready for what comes next. And amazingly, most companies, many that you probably serve, in 20 years of big data, never got their data in a position where it was ready. So doing it with a massive data like you have at Ingram to be able to deliver value is no small task. So congratulations on that.
Hey, I appreciate the fact that you acknowledge that too, because that's really what it's about. And people are going to talk about and use the buzzwords, but we spent a year literally getting the data right and hiring the right talent from outside the industry or outside of our company and bringing that together. And at the end of the day, AI is only as good as the data. And so if you don't have the right data, it doesn't matter. You're going to be, dressing that up to something that's completely different or running reports and calling it AI. So, it's a journey we're on. We're proud of where we are. We're kind of in those first couple of phases, as I mentioned. When we get to phase 3, we'll be super excited. And I hopefully, as we continue the journey, I'd love to continue to have this conversation with the two of you.
We will absolutely. And both Pat and I will tell you, even with our smaller data problems, it's a great challenge to try to make it really usable and accessible. And so I want to learn more. We'll spend more time. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to have the chance to spend some time with you at the Ingram One event. So I definitely want to call that out. Myself and Tiffany Bova, our head of research, will be joining me, and can't wait to be there. But it's so great to have you here on this 6.5 episode, Paul. Hopefully you'll become a regular. We've got so many great guests. Love to make you one of those that spends time with Pat and I more frequently. And for everyone out there, we appreciate you tuning in. Such a great story here. So much to learn from a great company like Ingram that over 45 years has created a $50 billion business delivering IT and so many more technologies now to all of you. Subscribe, be part of our community, stay with us. But for this episode, we got to say goodbye. See you all later.